we will be in this area for quite some time to come. And the beauty is almost 40 to 45% of the world is emerging. And there are many countries that are way behind us. So what I suggest to all the manufacturers in this country, to all the entrepreneurs who are sitting there, people from the RBIT community, is to focus on creating products and solutions for the emerging markets. Where are we seeing big trends happening? One of the big trends that we are seeing are the trends related to urbanization, for example. More and more mega cities are being created in emerging markets like India. What does that mean? When you have a big trend like urbanization, you find massive movements of people into large cities. That means they need products and solutions to be brought into those cities. That means it creates opportunities for us to bring new products and solutions. That's what we need to focus on. We need to drive that culture of innovation so we can bring that into these cities. The second big trend that we are seeing globally, which I believe is also going to happen in India, is the creation of smart. And I call it smart is new green, which means creation of smart cities. You've seen from Prime Minister's address, there are 100 smart cities that are going to be created in India. And to me, that is incredible opportunity, again, to create products and solutions for addressing the needs of this market. The third major area is going to be the area of healthcare. Healthcare, we have a young population, but we also have an aging population. What does that mean? We need to create affordable healthcare solutions. And with technology, we can make those solutions happen. It becomes easier for us to provide that. And whether we like it or not, globally, we still get accepted on the technology front a lot more than we get accepted on the manufacturing side. So I think there is tremendous opportunity, at least in these three areas. The other areas that I also believe there are great opportunities are in the areas of a big trend that we are seeing is what we call as innovating to zero. Now, what does that mean? That means many companies are looking to reduce waste and bring it down to zero. Many companies are trying to reduce the emissions and bring it down to zero. Obviously, there are companies that are trying to reduce emails, which suck a lot of our time, bring it down to zero. So we're seeing this big trend, which is innovating to zero. I think there are again opportunities that this will create for a lot of us sitting here and to the students in the institute, because this kinds of shifts, transformational shifts, did not occur when we were graduating from school 25, 30 years ago. But what we are seeing in the last decade, the amount of disruption, collapse, and transformation of industries, and I believe even careers over time, is unprecedented. So that means it gives us tremendous opportunity to participate. And I think if we can show our students what these big transformational shifts are, encourage them to create solutions to address the needs in the emerging markets, which is not only big in India, but is massive all over the world, I think we can come up with some incredible solutions. And with technology, all this becomes possible. It also becomes very affordable. Finally, there is some big movement coming up in the world now, which is called as Industry 4.0. So for those of us who are in the manufacturing sector, you probably have heard this terminology. It's being championed and pioneered by Germany as a country, but very soon it will permeate in every part of the world. And I think with Industry 4.0, you're going to see the convergence of processes, of technologies, and systems. And when that happens, manufacturing suddenly becomes a very important, critical, vital, vibrant part of an economy. And more importantly, companies and individuals can start to participate in that space. 3D printing is a big area. With that, we can certainly start to play unlike in the past. So like I said, I remain very optimistic, obviously cautiously optimistic. Any change, any government policy takes years, trickle-down economics takes a while, but like I said, never late than sorry. Let's get it done. I believe over the next 5 to 10 years, we'll see some significant innovation happening from this country and serving the global markets, definitely the emerging markets. So with that, thank you very much, and I'm happy to take questions on the panel. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jitchi, for coming all the way here, addressing the audience. Thank you all the panel members for enlightening the audience in the way you have. And we have a lot of names already with us. Some, of course, have got their left and rights wrong, I think, because I know some of them who's raised a question. So what I will do is I'll try and start some of those questions, answers, and then see what you have sent to Mr. Anup Jutshi, Mr. B.P. Rao, Mr. B.P. Rao. Well, then there are some names who I'll just okay, let me start with Richie Mittal. He says there's a question to the panel. Richie Mittal, can you stand up and please speak? Just keep the mics available handy. If you want some more mics, please take it from here. We can pass one mic around.
Good morning. A question to the panel is that we talked about technology and power generation. We talked about wind, we talked about solar. Have you ever thought about geothermal energy for power solution? Have we thought in India?
Take this, geothermal?
Geothermal power to the panel.
Well, let me just tell you briefly that the geothermal potential in our country is limited to certain areas of central India, Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh mostly. And as an R&D measure, NTPC has already started one geothermal project in the country. Structurally, it's not been worked out exactly as to how it will be taken by the grid, who will be the beneficiary, the state under which the geothermal is coming, because it's really a new subject. But work is on. If Mr. Rao wants to say something on the equipment side of the geothermal, I don't know.
Yeah, we did a preliminary survey on that. As Mr. Arup said, the potential is very low here. So the economics doesn't work out immediately only, if you restrict yourself to this market, this particular segment. So we have many more things to do. So therefore, our energies we are concentrating on what is available here first.
Okay, then I will go to Mr. Vijay Bhardwaj, sitting on the right side of the podium. If you can concentrate on the right, we'll try and finish it off.
Good morning. Am I audible? Yeah. So my question is for the panel and everybody. There are two questions which I have. I'll ask them one by one. My first question is related to a policy, which is we are an education company and we try to manufacture an electronic gadget which will help in digital education. Now what happens is when I import the product as it is from China, there's a zero duty on it. But when I bring it as a part and try to hand make it here or assemble it here, there's a duty on the parts, each parts and everything. So it discourages from the part of that I should manufacture here, instead of it encourages me to import directly. That is one question on the policy, sir. My second question is on the technology transfer, specifically to environment production. In the technology transfer, what we've seen is if I have to set up a unit, etc., I need a technology transfer and the fees is very high. So before even getting into manufacturing, I ended having a huge cost and negotiation and time spent where it becomes a hindrance from the time to get started as a manufacturing unit. So my request here is the panelists to guide us from the perspective of setting up experts who can help in terms of forming a forum which can bring in connections, links, opportunities, fund, so that the manufacturing can be taken from there.
Okay, thank you. I think Mr. Rao can answer both your points on the policy as well as what you're suggesting. But I would also like Richie and others, Ayush, to take note of this, and maybe if the Bitosa Forum can address his issue, it will be a good thing to do so. Rao sir.
See, regarding the first question is concerned, yes, what you say is right. There are some situations, what we call as inverted duty structure, where, by making in India, you try to, you incur more costs in terms of the duties. But government is trying to correct the situation. If you bring it to the notice of the government, where exactly this kind of problems are there. Like last year, they have corrected the situation in terms of photovoltaic and equipment. where if you bring the raw materials and then manufacture here, the finished product does not have a duty as well as the intermediate products have a duty. So the value addition is discouraged with that. But government is correcting that situation, definitely. So let us bring it to the notice of them, this particular case. Second thing what you talked about, the technology transfer fee being very high in the, when you start a new product. But you need to look at the market size and the technology transfer fee in proportion to that. The market size, to the extent, the lifetime of the product, you will have to look at and see, because most of us have gone through this route for establishing the products here. And, my hunch is, if it is roughly about 7 to 8%, if it doesn't cross more than that, you're going to make it viable in this country. So you'll have to look at in terms of business, whatever business you are foreseeing it, for further, say, for the lifetime of the product. If it doesn't exceed total business about 7% as the technology, initial fee as well as the royalty what you pay, you're going to make it. I mean, in terms of the present cost structure in the country. But one needs to go into the case in more detail.
I think this also may kindly take note, Bitosa, we can make some policy advocacy on these issues, which is affecting the entrepreneurs to start business in India.
In fact, the budget discussions are starting now. This is the right time to give these issues to the policymakers.
Well, I don't have the location or the speaker whom Mr. Mukul Sinha would like to ask. Where is Mr. Mukul Sinha? You are on the right.
Good morning, sir. I am Mukul Sinha. My question is to Mr. Arup Rai Chaudhary. Sir, is there any plan for NTPC to set up JV with the Indian solar cell and module manufacturer? Because NTPC has got very ambitious plan of adding utility scale power plants, especially solar power plants.
Well, just let me give you a straight answer to that. At the moment, I can't answer your question because we don't have any proposal from anybody on any JV or what is it that you're bringing on the table? Because many people come to us saying that they want to bring a JV because they're bringing some money and they want to come into the project. Let me tell you, if you go back and Google my balance sheet, you'll see I have so much money on my balance sheet that I don't need to form a JV for the money. But if you're bringing in technology, yes, we could look at it. No. So make a proposal, send it to us, we'll have a look at it. Send it to Director Technical NTPC. Okay? Thank you. Next is a question to me only, Mr. Rahul Banerjee. Where are you, left or right? You have not written. Right here.
Good morning. I work for GDF Suez in India now. My question is related to the power sector only. Now we have companies like NTPC, and if you look at the value chain of power, you have NTPC, Power Grid, which are doing very well, strong balance sheets you mentioned. But on the other side, you have the distribution companies which are in completely dire straits. I mean, the financial losses have been going up. And so what do you, in your view, and you are there and Mr. Basu is also there, what in your view is a sustainable solution? How do you make this whole process virtuous? It's not as simple as increasing the tariff, but because if you increase the tariff, the industry starts losing its competitive advantage. So how does this problem, how does one address this problem?
Well, as you said that, it's not so simple, and you're right. This solution is not so simple. It will actually need a very long answer, but I'll try and make it as short as possible. Electricity is a concurrent subject. It was actually a state subject. In 1975, when the government of India realized that the state electricity boards were failing miserably in doing their job, then the generation part was taken away from them, and NTPC and NHPC came into existence. Then gradually the major transmission was taken on board. Initially NTPC was doing the transmission, and then Power Grid Corporation of India came into being out of NTPC. The distribution still remains with the state governments. Now, it's a quasi-political problem. The politician goes for the election saying that he will give free electricity. When he comes to power, he is under compulsion to give free electricity, but he does not make adequate provision in the state budget obviously there is no money to provide for subsidizing the DISCOM, which is losing money for giving free electricity. So it's a vicious circle. This is one component. The other component is even today, our T&D losses are 27 to 28%. That means almost 1/3 of the electricity that we generate, we lose in T&D losses. And T&D losses includes Chori Chamari also. And some states this is as high as 50%, 60%. Now that is something which is actually a law and order issue. Again, a state subject. But having told you this, let me tell you, there is a silver lining which is coming. Earlier, as you said rightly, it was thought that cost has to be neutralized. But you can't keep on increasing the electricity tariff. So the silver lining is that there is a realization among states now to really tighten these losses, come at this aspect, and tighten this aspect of losses, and see that the T&D losses are minimized, the distribution network is, companies are adequately given financial assistance. But let me tell you, it is not going to happen tomorrow. Just wait and see. This is in the consideration zone of the present government, how to improve things. Let me tell you, states like Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, of course, Gujarat is an example by itself. These are the states which are now synergizing with the central government better because of the political dispensation. They are coming more online on these issues. And almost Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh have 24/7 power. Rajasthan will very soon have that. So things are going to happen, things are going to change. Let's hope for the best. I also don't have Mr. Tiroki Nagar. You haven't mentioned whom you want to ask the question. It's for the panel. Please ask your question.
My question is more for the panel and for the people around here. Basically, we have been talking of power generation for boosting the Make in India concept. But we are overlooking the big stumbling blocks we have in the Make in India concept. That is the Babu culture of this country. And that needs to be addressed on a very strong war footing if really we want to have Made in India and Make in India.
Thank you very much. I think I'll take it as a suggestion only. None of us can respond on that. And let's hope that this culture, as you're talking about, will change at some stage. I have Mr. M.K. Asthana. You also haven't raised to whom you want to raise the question. Since you are from NTPC, I presume it is to me. Please.
Thank you, sir. I'm M.K. Asthana. I'm working in NTPC. I am 82 batch. I graduated in 86. And 86, I joined NTPC. I'm extremely proud that last 28 years I worked in NTPC, which is directly associated in growth